Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to my Science 8 class. So today, I am going to discuss another topic. But before we will proceed, let me ask you first, how did you find our previous lesson? I hope you are all doing good, especially in doing or answering all the activities and also the given test. So anyways, are you all now ready? Then, can you identify this celestial object in the slides? So take a look on the picture. I know you can. Yes, you can. So let me help you remember what is in our solar system. So I hope you can still remember what are these celestial objects that you can find in our solar system. Okay, so class, our solar system consists of asteroids, which are larger than meteoroids, and of course, you also have the comets. Then, it enters in the Earth's atmosphere, and this leaves a visible path that is called a meteor. And then, lands on the Earth as meteorites. And these comets are also composed of ice rock and dust. Okay. So I hope you are all familiar with all those things. So our lesson for today is all about comets, asteroids, and meteorites. Now, to begin with, let us first read our learning objective for today's lesson. So one, you have to compare, so at the end of the lesson, you shall be able to compare and contrast meteoroids, comets, and asteroids. Predict the appearance of comets based on recorded data of the previous appearances. Then, explain the regular occurrence of the meteor shower. Okay, class? So, did you notice that when the sun shines brightly during the day, all we see when we look up in the blue sky through the clouds. But at night, when the sun is shining on the opposite side of the part of the earth where we are, we can see countless points of light. So this is especially true on a clear cloudless night. So when you are far away from the bright light of the city and the moon is not full. So if you really love to watch all of the celestial objects, then you can just go out at night time, especially when the weather is good, then you can really appreciate all of these celestial objects. Okay? Now, we have to know what is a comet and of course the asteroids and the meteorites and how do they differ from each other. Okay, so comets and asteroids are referred to by astronomers as near-Earth objects. Comets are icy bodies or objects, while asteroids are rocky fragments. So comets and asteroids are the remnants from the formation of our solar system 4.6 billion years ago. So these are some of their properties and characteristics. So later, we will have to discuss this one by one. Okay, so what is a comet? Comets are cosmic snowballs of frozen gases, rocks, and dust roughly the size of a small town. So, as you can see, comets come in many forms. Some are even tailless. So this is usually what you can observe at night, especially when the weather is good. So this is the image, how our comets look like. So it does not mean that all comets comes with a tail, but there are also some comets which are even tailless. Okay? So comets are large bodies rich in ices, along with dust, grains, gravel, and small rocky bodies embedded in the ice. So when the ices evaporate as they get closer to the sun, they grow tails and we see them as comets. So they leave behind in their orbits gravel and rocky debris that Earth may encounter from time to time as orbits cross. So this is how they look like. So they are entering in the surface of the Earth. So we see comets in these encounters as meteor showers. So because the orbit the sun, we can see them back from time to time. Halley's Comet appears about every 76 years. So, good thing if we were able to experience or to witness the Halley's Comet. But sad to say, it only appears every 76 years. So hopefully we can reach that age so we can also witness the Halley's Comet. So we also had a visit. We had a visit from this comet in 1986, and we won't see it again until the mid 2061. So we have to wait that long. So now we have to discuss the characteristics of a comet. So a comet is a fuzzy, luminous, big, dirty snowball composed of rock dust wrapped around a big ball of ice. And this charming sight in the sky is moving very slowly, but remain in our sight for weeks before disappearing out of view. A comet enters a huge elliptical orbit. Every time the comet travels closer to the sun, it may lose some of its material. Why it will lose some of its material? As you all know that when it travels closer to the sun, then it will slowly be melted because comets are made up of dirty snowball and a big ball of ice. So however, when it comes back to the place, part of the solar system, it slowly appears smaller and gloomy until it disappears completely. So in some events, the characteristics of a comet may have a solid and rocky core for it to continue traveling around its orbit as a dark, barren asteroid. Now, comets do not give energy and light, therefore, it is not visible. But as it travels closer to the sun, the comet becomes clear because the heat of the sun melts the ice of the comet and turns it to gas. So this gas becomes the coma, which envelopes and hides the nucleus from our view. So one part of the comet is the so-called the head. It is composed of a nucleus and coma. Now it becomes bigger as more gas and dust are released from the coma. So the solar wind blows more and more gas from the coma, causing it to form a tail, and which in some comets can reach up to 150 million kilometers in length. So if you are going to imagine how big is that 150 million kilometers in length? Okay, so that is why even they are at our farthest site, but yet we can still see comets. Now, where do comets come from? Comets are in long elliptical orbits around the Sun from beyond Uranus. So these objects are found in the Kuiper belt between Uranus and the Neptune, and the Oort cloud from way out beyond Pluto. Short-period comets originate from the Kuiper belt, while long-period comets come from the Oort cloud. So the name comet comes from the Greek meaning long-haired because of their tails. So comets throughout history have been thought to bring bad luck, but these are just natural phenomena of the solar system. Okay? But what we do have to do every time we can see comets, we all have our wishes, right? Okay. So this is the Halley's Comet. So for us, since we have not witnessed yet the Halley's Comet, then we can just take a look on this picture. So this is the most famous comet of the 20th century. So this is only known short period comet. It takes 75 to 79 years for Comet Halley to orbit the Sun. Okay, so this is a very bright comet. Okay, so this is how the comets look like. So try to take a look on its parts. So you have the coma. This goes near to the Sun, and the center part of the comet is a nucleus, and this is how the dust tail looks like. Then you have the ion tail, and this is the direction of the comet. So try to follow the arrow for you to tell the direction of the comet. So this is now the image. So you have here the dust tail, the nucleus, the gas ion tail, direction of the solar wind. So once the comet gets closer to the Sun, then light reflects on it. Okay. Now you have the asteroids, but before we'll discuss on asteroids, any questions about comets? Okay, so if there is none, then we will move on to asteroids. Okay, so asteroids originate from the main asteroids belt between Mars and Jupiter. So this belt is theorized by scientists to be remnants of a planet that did not completely form. So these asteroids are fragments of rocky materials with similar composition as the outer layers of the terrestrial planets. So their size is greater than 100 meters in diameter. So it is really big. Now, this is also another fascinating object in the solar system. So they simply rocky or metallic object orbiting the Sun in the same way with the planets. So how do the planets orbit? So the same thing with asteroids. So, however, asteroids are hard to see because they are reflecting little light that they are always moving. So, no asteroids have an atmosphere. Okay. So, majority of known asteroids are found within and between orbits, no? Between orbits of Mars and Jupiter. Okay? So asteroids come in all sizes and shapes. So some asteroids that are tiny as pebbles and some are as big as mountains. And because they are smaller than planets, they are often called minor planets or the planetoids. So class, the asteroids are the most watched near Earth asteroids or the NEA. So they are the most watched because there is a real possibility of one of them colliding with Earth since their orbits pass close to the Earth. So again, like any other planets, asteroids are given names by astronomers. So we have here this Ceres. Okay, so Ceres is the largest of the asteroids. So it is about 930 kilometers in diameter. So can you just imagine how huge that is? So again, class, you always have to remember that the largest asteroid is the Ceres. So like any other big rock, they can be potato shape, papaya shape, or have a strange shapes. So again, the size of an asteroid may vary. It could be small or even larger or bigger. And the shape also, it forms in many shapes. Okay. Now, take a look of the image of an asteroid. So again, this asteroid is usually made up of rocky or metallic fragments of rocks. So with similar composition of the outer layers of the terrestrial planets. Okay, so they come in different shapes and different sizes. So they have some names, but the bigger one is the Ceres. Okay. So again, asteroids are made up of rocks, ice, carbon, silica, and different metals. Asteroids are also called minor planets or planetoids. So there are many asteroids orbiting the Sun in a region between Mars and Jupiter. So this area is called the asteroids belt. So they are following a slightly elliptical path as they orbit the Sun in the same direction as the planets. So a larger object such as planet could be pulled an asteroid out of orbit. And once an asteroid is captured by the gravitational pull of a planet, it may become a satellite of that planet. Okay, so many astronomers believe that the two satellites of Mars, Phobos and Deimos, are captured asteroids. Okay, so if it is not because of the giant planet Jupiter that pulls the asteroids outward, then large asteroids would constantly be hitting Mercury, Venus, and Mars. And of course, the Earth. So I hope you still remember those inner planets that you learned from your previous module. So what are those inner planets? You already learned that the belt is closer to the Jupiter than it is to the Sun. So Jupiter exerts more gravitational pull on the asteroids than the Sun, so resulting in the asteroids to keep in orbit away from the inner planets. Okay, you have here the comparison table of some characteristics of comets and asteroids. So how do they differ? So characteristics of comet and asteroids. So for the comet, the origin from Kuiper belt and the Oort cloud, while asteroids, it is from the main asteroids belt. Then the shape, the comet varied and it is irregular. So same with asteroid. The shape may vary and it is also irregular. So the size range of diameter for the comet, it is 1 to 10. This is the size of the nucleus only. And for the asteroid, it is much larger than the comet. Okay. So for the chemical composition, for the comet, it is ice, frozen water or frozen gases. You have the ammonia, methane, and carbon dioxide. So other organic compounds, carbon-containing compounds. So this is the characteristics of a comet. While the asteroids, it is silicate, iron, and nickel. So they are different in chemical composition. Then, how about where they orbit? Okay, so comet, it is highly elliptical, while the asteroid, it is more rounded. So, how about the years they orbit? So, for the comet, it is 75 to 100,000 years. And for the asteroids, it is 1 to 100 only. So comet orbits a little bit longer than the asteroids. So these are their similarities and differences. Now, comets and asteroids have irregular shapes and they vary in size. So they both reflect light from the sun at varying amounts depending on the size and composition. So this is how do they differ from each other. So silicates are minerals which contain the minerals that contain the elements silicon, oxygen, and at least one metal which is responsible for the comets and asteroids to be able to reflect light. So once they reflect light, then they are glowing. So if they don't reflect the light, then it is not really visible to our naked eye. Okay. Okay. So did you know that comets do not last or remain within the solar system forever? So those that attain very high velocity are ejected from the solar system after interacting with a large planet. So others expose all their volatile materials, leaving only the rocky nucleus. So without the gases to form a coma, it becomes more an asteroids already. So asteroids originate from the main asteroids. So this belt theorized by scientists to be remnants of a planet that did not completely form. So this is where the asteroid is located. So they orbit the same with the other planets. So as you can see, there is the sun there at the center, then you have the planet, and then the asteroid belt. So this is how it looks like. So they are orbiting around the planet. Okay. So you also have here the Kuiper belt in Oort cloud. This is for the comets. Okay, this is the Kuiper belt. Now, before we will proceed to meteors, so let me ask you first, any questions about the asteroids? So if there is none, then we will proceed to meteors. So what are meteors? So this is another known celestial object in the solar system. So we have the meteors. So they are also composed of dust and ice from the pathway of comets. So meteors are stone-like but made up of several minerals enriched in silicon and oxygen, iron consisting mainly of iron and nickel, or stony iron, a combination of two. When meteors travel through the layers of the Earth's atmosphere, so friction causes them to heat up, and then the meteor surface starts to warm and flare. So that's the time the heat and high speed combine to vaporize the meteor, usually high above the Earth's surface. So now you can simply differentiate an asteroid and a meteor through their characteristics. So an asteroid is a small rocky object that travels around the sun, while a meteor will occur when a tiny piece of an asteroid or comet, which is known as a meteoroid, so flare up upon traveling the Earth's atmosphere. Okay. So there are millions of such occurrences every day, but most of them go unnoticed except at night. So they become visible to the naked eye when they are about the size of a marble. So their glowing tail is known as the meteor, okay? Or what you call the shooting stars, the falling star, or the bulalakaw. So meteors appear to glow brighter than the planets, and they are usually called the fireballs. So when fireballs explode, and they are now called bolides. So a meteoroid that manages to reach the Earth's surface as a solid object, which is now called meteorite. So meteoroids that are found may become collector items. So the larger ones can be very expensive and are usually claimed by research laboratories or natural history museum. So sana swertehin tayo, makapulot tayo niyan. So we have color of meteors. So depending on the relevant influence of the metallic content of the meteoroid and the superheated air plasma, which is also tracked, produces a yellow-orange. That is a sodium. Then for the yellow, that is iron. Then for the blue-green, that is magnesium, violet, calcium. Then red, atmospheric nitrogen, and oxygen. Now, a meteorite is usually all burns up when it enters the Earth's atmosphere. That is why when the meteorite enters the Earth's atmosphere, uh, nawawala na sila. Hindi nyo na sila nakikita. So a meteor is a light phenomenon or a streak of light that occurs when a meteoroid burns up as it enters the Earth's atmosphere. So when a fragment from the meteoroid survives and makes it to the ground, this space rock fragment is now called a meteorite. Okay. So a meteor shower is a light phenomenon caused by fragments left by a comet as they orbit the sun. So when the Earth orbits the sun and passes through the comet fragments, a streak of light is produced. So we will discuss this after this topic. Now, we have some types of meteoroids. So we have to classify them as stony meteorite. Okay. So stony meteorites, the most common type of meteorite, and are generally composed of approximately 75 to 90% silicon-based minerals. So 10 to 25% nickel iron alloy and trace amounts of iron sulfide. So this is how it looks like. The stony meteorite. Okay, there is also color. Now we have this stony iron meteorite. So stony iron meteorites contain approximately even amounts of silicates and nickel iron alloy. So they also differ, no, with the stony meteorite. Okay, so we have the next. We have the iron meteorite. So most iron meteorites likely originated in the course of large asteroids and are composed almost entirely in nickel-iron alloy, which is also a primary component of the Earth's core. So this is how it looks like. Okay, so we are done for today. So if you have any questions, then please log on to our e-learning site and then try to visit the learning path, for there are so many resources for what we have discussed. So you can read the module or you can go over with our modules and of course the power presentation that we have discussed. So thank you and God bless. So see you next and stay safe all.